my arm is not my identity. It's not who I am, like, period. But there's some times when you need to lean into it. When that video went viral, I leaned into it. And so if I need to make fun of my arm for a second or be vulnerable for a second, I'm going to do it if it's going to help my neighbor do better and be better. Even though you may not think it's inspirational, like, to yourself, like, it is inspirational to someone else. And right now we need inspiration. We need positivity.
Michael Rockafellow, welcome to the See-Through podcast.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Where are you right now?
St. Louis, Missouri, in my basement.
Oh, I kind of thought you were in your salon there for a second.
No, well, I have a built-in salon in my house, so kind of.
That's slick. My wife would be jealous of that. You know, my wife's a hair colorist.
Oh yeah.
And that's actually how I discovered you, just to kind of get that out the way, you know. Like,
yeah.
She knows I have this podcast, obviously, so
right.
She stumbled upon your Instagram and she sent me your page, and she thought it was really cool what you were doing, you know. And I was like, oh, I'll reach out to him and see if he'll be down for an interview. And then I reached out, and you were super nice and kind and said, yeah, I'll come on and talk. And here we are.
Yeah. I'm always here to support others and cheer everyone else on too. So I'm definitely a person of spreading love and supporting each other.
Hell yeah. Well, that said, let's just get you introduced to everyone who may not be familiar with you. Would you mind giving an introduction?
Yeah, Michael Rockafellow, hairstylist, born with a limb difference. I'm 33 years old, husband and doggy dad and chicken dad. Been doing hair for about 10 years now.
So what's cool about your story, and what my wife just outright, you know, just without beating around the bush said, she was like, I don't know if I would be able to do my job if I only had one arm.
Right. Well,
and she was blown away by that. And she was actually like truly like your page like kind of pumped her up, because she was like, well, now I know that even if I lose an arm, I can still do my job. Yeah. You know,
well, our brains are fascinating, right? So it's like that's what makes humans so much better than robots. We can figure it out, like, and we have the will to want to figure it out.
1,000%. Yeah. So, you know, let's just get to that story. Like, I'm sure, you know, you were born with one arm, right?
Yep.
And it's a technical term we kind of taled before, but it's called limb difference.
Yep. Just like a broader term so you can kind of hit everyone.
And we'll kind of go backwards as we talk, but I'm sure your childhood was unique with, you know, one arm. But just getting into your career now, you know, as a hairstylist, you also do color as well, right?
Yeah, so I pride myself. I can do all types of hair. I can color cut. I'm still trying to learn to braid. That's probably been one of the limitations, is braiding, and but I'm figuring it out. So I pride myself on being able to do every service that sits in this chair.
Right on. Yeah, I think that's how you have to be, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the curiosity aspect. I think all the greats, you know, have that kind of curiosity aspect. But yeah, I think, you know, let's just get to that story. Like, how did you get the idea to become a hairstylist? Because, like, from my perspective, and it may be like an ignorant one, is like, if I had one arm, I'd say, like, that doesn't seem like the job for me. So how did you, like, come up with the idea, and then how did you execute it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're born with a difference, right, you're always trying to push yourself to basically prove yourself to everyone. And I feel like that's what happened to me, is that people kind of told me, like, I was a lifeguard in high school because people told me I couldn't pass the test. And I was like, no, I'm going to pass the test. And then so when I was in college, I hated it. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And at the time, I worked in a salon, and the owner was like, I think you should work in a salon and do hair. And I was like, I don't think I can do hair. And so I like being in the salon. I love the atmosphere. I love the people, but I just felt like I was only going to be able to be a manager or like whatever, or a receptionist in the salon. And then all of a sudden, you know, I was struggling in school, and I was like, I hated being in school. And she's like, you need to go to hair school. You need to go to hair school. And I didn't believe in myself at the time. So basically she was the kick in the ass I needed to get going. So she kind of started showing me things in the salon, and she's like, if anyone's going to figure it out, it's going to have to be like yourself, and you're going to have to push yourself to figure it out how to do it. And so as she showed me how to do things, I just started doing it. And then when you're born with it and you've had time to kind of adapt, your brain just naturally adapts for you. You don't even, I didn't have to think about it. I just like saw what she was doing. I was like, all right, this is how I would do it.
Okay. Yeah, well, there's a will, there's a way type of thing.
Yeah. Well,
okay,
and someone commented on my video, and this kind of like really kind of hit home. And it's like, I could have made excuses of why I couldn't do it, or I could figure out how to do it.
Yeah, it's one or the other, right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I'm assuming that there has to be some sort of disconnect between some clientele, like they may like, or have you had issues with that where somebody comes into a salon and they're like, "Oh, he's my guy. Are you sure?" Or even salons, or has that have you been able to avoid that?
I've been able to avoid it for the most part, but I think it's because I'm confident. I can, kind of now. It is funny. I always get this, and I think people are just sometimes a lot of people are nice. They don't really. In the back of their mind, they're probably like, what the heck did I get myself into? But at the most time, like, it becomes a joke. They'll be like, I'll start doing it and I'll start working. And halfway through the appointment, they're like, I'm not going to lie, I was very nervous. And they're like, then they'll be like, I cannot believe that you can do this. This is incredible. And usually it's like a positive experience. Now there's been one client in particular, like when I first started, she kind of made some rude comment, and it just was like, you're unhappy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, nobody ever complained about anything. Like if anything, people are like compliment, like she complained about my scalp massage. And that's like the one thing people always compliment me on. They're like, for having one arm, that hand's pretty strong. And so it's like, it was weird for her to, I think, but at the time, I think she was just unhappy.
Yeah, some people are like that. I hear tons of stories from my wife when she gets home sometimes, and she's like, "Oh, I had this terrible client today."
Yeah.
And then she describes it, and I'm like, "Yeah, that does sound like." It's like sometimes I can't even fathom people being like that. I'm like, how?
Yeah,
I'm like, people like that exist.
Yes. Well, and I'm very fortunate. I hear these stories all the time, like your wives, and I've not had that issue. I'm gonna knock on wood here, but everything's been, except for recently, I had one. I moved to a new salon, and it's not the type of clientele I normally work with. Mm-hmm. And so it's been an interesting transition, but mostly positive. But there was one instance where I had to I jokingly said something like I was uncomfortable because I'm just like, you don't get to say things like that.
Mm. Wow. What did she say? Or is that?
It was just like right after, it was like first time meeting this person, and it was right after the election, and it was meant to be playful, and it's like whatever. I'm here to do your hair. I'm not here to talk to you about what's going on in the world, because we're not doing anything. But she just was like all giddy and happy, and she just made a point to bring it up and then tell me that I was unhappy about stuff. And I was like, I don't know you. This is the first 5 minutes of us meeting, and this is what you want to bring up? I'm just here to do your hair.
There is like this very social part of being a hairstylist and having someone in your chair.
Oh yeah.
And I think my wife thrives at that because she's very like talkative.
Yeah.
And
that's why I love it.
Puts people at ease. I think my wife naturally does. I mean, she puts me at ease. That's why I married her. But it's like, I could imagine that same feeling translates to people in her chair. Yeah.
Me, like, it's always funny because like meeting a new hairstylist is like the worst thing in the world because you don't know the experience you're going to have. And so it's really nerve wracking. Yeah. And so my assumption, what happened with this woman that I just recently had, was that she saw me, she was nervous, and then she word vomited and tried to have, had the conversation because like, it's like very anxious when you go meet a, new stylist or a new person. You're just like, what the heck? I'm a one-arm stylist. So it's like, you see me and you're like, oh, what did I get myself into? And then, so you don't know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to chop it up to that.
Well, I mean, if you really break it down, no one really escapes people, with their jobs, and, you're always going to have some sort of problematic or someone you don't actually like vibe with. If you're a coworker of yours, or if you work in retail, somebody who's going to come on your store, it's never going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. So I'd say you're doing pretty good. I only have a handful of experiences.
I don't have a problem speaking my mind. I don't have a problem standing up for myself. I don't have a problem. Like, if you make me uncomfortable, I'll let you know. Yeah. Like, I have no issue. I will speak up. I will say it. And I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah. You're a straight shooter?
Yep. Okay. I'm just like a matter-of-fact type person, my therapist says.
Okay. I think that's good. I think, See-Through Podcast is about transparency. And I think a lot of times, and this is just a theory I have, I think a lot of times the normal baseline of human interaction isn't truthful.
Right.
And sometimes there's some good qualities of that, because you don't want to just go around saying everything in your mind, because you're going to hurt people's feelings. And some things just don't need to be said and things like that. But I think what's nice about people who are actually truthful like yourself is that you actually know if they are cool with you or not. Yeah. That you actually know, like, oh yeah, they're not being fake. And I think there's a lot of fakeness out there. Oh, and I always appreciate the people who keep it real, even if it's negative towards me. I'm like, well, at least they're keeping it real.
Yeah. I was the manager of a salon for many years, and there's one thing that I was not, and it was, well, I didn't go behind your back. You knew if there was something wrong. I didn't treat you differently afterwards. I just moved on. If you did something wrong, you knew it, and I moved on.
Yeah. So your clientels are cool. Your salon's cool.
Yeah.
Let's go back further and let's get to where you are now, because that's your current job and career. Yep. And I'm assuming this is a path you intend to follow for a long time, right?
Oh yeah, as long as I can.
So let's work backwards and then get back to where you are now. So you're born with a limb difference.
Yep.
How did that impact your childhood or how you perceived by your family, childhood friends? Like, let's just get deep into that.
Yeah, I think at first everyone was just kind of like nervous for me and just like, he's going to have a hard life. He's going to, because you don't know. I was the first one in my family to have something like this. And so I think they were just all nervous. But at the same time, they always did what they felt was like best for me and to kind of help me and guide me. But I think over time, they could see that I was fine. They could see that I was still doing everything I wanted to do, just a little bit different. And, when I was born, I had a lot of other issues besides just my arm. And so they were very concerned for me the whole time. So it's like, I think once I came out, I've been a fighter this whole time. So I think they've seen me kind of grow into this person of like always constantly fighting. And so I think when I got to be like middle school age, they're like, all right, he's cool. Like, I think he's got this basically. But I did, have you ever heard of Shriners Hospital?
I have not.
Basically, they provide mechanical like arms and legs and stuff for children under 18. And so I think, they had that resource and, spent spring break there. And I think that's kind of what, they didn't know what to do at the time. So they kind of put me in these positions where I had help. But I mean, they kind of just let me do my own thing.
Okay. Did you ever, speaking of prosthetics, did you ever mess around with prosthetic?
I did. When I was younger, they would make me wear it all the time. But I think at the time, and this was 20 years ago, they weren't very great. They were uncomfortable. They pinched. They had you're strapped to your whole body. They're all metal and all the things. And because I was born with it, I think that I was just able to adapt and like kind of figure it out. And I think that was new and it was hindering me more than it was helping me. Okay. So like, I just did not like it. And I think now maybe if I got fitted for one that was a little less strappy and mechanically, like it was literally wired all over my body, I think I might be interested, but I'm fine.
Yeah. I would imagine it'd be more comfortable to not have stuff pinching you, and especially if there wasn't much function to the prosthetic either.
No, I mean,
if it was just aesthetic reasons, I'd say whatever.
Well, and you had to like to open the claw. There was like a claw on the end of it. It was like a hook like this. You had to like squeeze your whole body.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like, I'm not gonna walk around like this. Like, it makes no sense. So it was very uncomfortable, and they, my parents, again, just doing their best with what they had. would force me to wear it, and then I would hate it even more because then it was like all sweaty. And my aunt I remember one time throwing a huge fit because my aunt was like Miss Missouri, and she went to go compete at the national level in Vegas. Yeah. And like they made me wear my arm for the event, and I remember throwing a fit about having to wear it because it was hot in Nevada, and I was like, my arm's sweaty, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. So
there is something kind of comedic about that, where it's like, hey, we're going to see your aunt. She's going to win Miss Missouri. You got to put on your arm for this.
I know.
Okay?
It's pretty freaking hilarious. Now that I look back, it was hilarious, but I remember throwing a fit about it.
Yeah. It's like, you got to dress up for this one.
White shirt and all.
Yeah. Okay. Did you experience any bullying or anything like that?
Yeah, I think like there was bullying, but there wasn't like, it was more minimal. I think more now they like look back and actually see it. Now there was some like when you get in a fight with a kid because you're not getting along. I mean, they're gonna say one arm something. You know what I mean? That's just like what it is. But for the most part, I feel like I got by pretty well. I was also a pretty confident kid, so I feel like if there was a bully, I was staying away from him anyways.
I see.
So, and I think high school. I remember middle school and high school and part of 5th grade or something, there was like a little bit of it where like, you know, kid would say something to me like a one-armed faggot or something like that. And that that hit me harder, but at the same time it was typically a kid I didn't really coexist with. So it's like, okay, well, get over there. You're just mad about something. So
kind of expected it from them kind of thing. Yeah. Sometimes like insults don't really hit hard when they're from people you expect them to say it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think a lot more of it is like staring. People are really good about staring.
Oh yeah. Just direct staring. Fun.
It's hilarious.
Who's worse, kids or adults? Cause everyone says kids, but I know adults do it too.
Yeah. Honestly, I've worked with children a lot, and the kids don't bother me because the thing is that there's an innocence about kids where it's like, they're just curious and they want to know. Yeah. And most of the time it's the parents who make it worse. So like, to me, like in my opinion, like you should allow your child to ask questions because usually once they get their answer, they're like, oh, okay, well then leave me alone.
Yeah.
They're like, but the parents like will get all huffy and puffy and stuff like that. And I'm like, let them ask the question. I mean, we've all been this way our whole life, most of us. So it's like, let them ask the question, and once they figure out the answer is boring, they're going to be like, okay, fine, I'm over it.
Yeah, I think that goes back to my point about the natural baseline of human interaction being somewhat fake.
Yeah.
It's like, again, that you're a client word vomiting in your chair. It's kind of like the parents are like, hey, you can't say that. You know, it's like, and I think it's like they assume that, you know, you're not going to be the type of guy to say, hey, it's cool, or hey, that's not cool. Like, I think, you know, you got it under control. You can say what's cool and what's not cool, you know?
Yeah. And then a lot of times I just make something funny up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think that's what I'm just like, why do you have 2 arms?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's the best way to work, especially with kids, because it's like their brains are, you know, very adaptable. So like they're going to hear you speak positively, make a joke, and now their perception's changed. And I think with adults, it's different because their brains are kind of solidified and there's not much bending going on or changing of perceptions. Or at least it's harder to get through to adults. And I think kids are more malleable, I think. And adults don't understand that sometimes, I think.
Yeah, they don't. They just like, they think I think they have a lot of shame. So it's like they shame themselves into not wanting to ask or something like that.
Yeah. Or they don't want to burst a delusion they have that people with disabilities exist and live. I think about this too, because it's like, oh, it's not fun. If it's not fun for you to think about, so therefore you don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, fair.
But it still doesn't deny that it's like real,
right? No,
and
fair.
that people are living with challenges, you know, and disabilities, and some people are cool with their disabilities and happy with their disabilities, and I think that's a foreign thought for them, and and it's like they have this very strict way of like, this is what being disabled is.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, you're just a a cool dude working as a hairstylist in a salon. It can be chill. Yeah. It can be chill. Like, it doesn't have to be not every disabled story has to be this like sad story. And I think sometimes it's like they're not sure if it confuses him when it's not that, you know?
Yes. Yeah. It's like they definitely have they already have their ideas how it's supposed to go.
You're not supposed to be happy.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be confident. You know, you're supposed to be sad, and you're supposed to, you know, be an inspirational speaker, but only talk about the hardships you came over and not all the successes you've had. You know, it's like, you know, you can talk both.
Yeah.
Know? Because it's twofold. It is inspiring. You know, like, for example, my wife saw your page and was like, oh, holy shit, that's sick. You know, like that's awesome. And then, but it's also like, you know, someone who's not in hair like me is like, yeah, it's like a proof of concept almost. Like, it's like, yeah, Michael's proof that with the right mindset, you can adapt.
Yep.
And I think that's what excites me is like, all right, there's proof. When people see proof of something, it makes them feel empowered. Like, hey, I can prove myself wrong. If Michael can do it, then I can do it, you know? And I think that's the main message. I think that, you know, I want this podcast to give out. And I think the message you're sending out is too, because, you know, to go a little further, like I was, you know, researching, you know, your story for the interview, and I was looking through your Instagram, and I saw a video and you were talking about drug use. Mm-hmm. And I know, you know, I don't want to tell your story for you, but, you know, I watched a video where you were describing, you know, you were, you know, doing cocaine, you shot meth up into your arm, you tried heroin, and are you clean and sober now?
Yeah, 7 years now. I can't believe it. It's been crazy.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's been very rewarding.
And for some people, that would be just be real, that's a big win to become sober and clean from that.
Yeah.
And for some people, you know, and to be fair, that's a big win for anyone.
Yeah.
With or without a disability. But, you know, you have your disability and you've had your drug issues in the past, and you've overcome two major things that a lot of people don't get over. I just want to pick your brain about that. Like, can you tell us about that story about your drug use? Because I think that's pretty unique. I haven't really covered that on my podcast, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I actually quit drinking, quit smoking, quit doing drugs on the same day, June 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the year now, but 7 years ago, whatever that was. It's been a while. So addiction runs in my family. So at a very young age, I saw what alcohol does to someone. My mom smoked, and my mom drinks still to this day. Love her to death. That's her choice. But, you know, every one of my siblings, all of us have an addiction issue. Most of us is just drinking. But, you know, I was in the party scene a lot and kind of put myself in that position and ignored the signs. And, but like you know, when you surround yourself and you live yourself in a different positive light, I feel like you attract those type of people, and the good people will call you out. And I would not have been able to overcome this if it wasn't for the people who called me out. They're like, hey, this isn't you. I don't know what's going on, but you need, like, where's Michael?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's kind of like they reminded me like what I was throwing away. Like everything to that point, I was basically scared of getting. Like, I was scared to get my license because of how hard I worked for it. And I think I just drank my feelings. I wanted to be like, with my arm, I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to see that I can do everything. I want everyone to like think that I'm just like this miraculous person. It's like, oh my gosh, you can achieve everything you want. But then at the same time, inside, I'm scared. Like, because sometimes I don't believe in myself. Even though people around me believe in me, like, I don't believe in myself. And so like the drugs and the alcohol were like an excuse to kind of hide away and maybe not potentially get what I want. So then they called me out and said, hey, you need to make sure you take your test. It's in a week. And then finally I like told them what was going on. And I was like, I need help. I need out. So.
Well, congrats on getting out.
Thanks.
Yeah, addiction runs in my family too, more on the alcohol side. I'm a casual drinker, but it's interesting how when your family has addiction problems, it warps your perspective of what's normal and what's abnormal. You know, because alcohol is so common. It's like in every bar.
Yep.
It's like in every grocery store. You see commercials for it. And, you know, it's kind of normalized in culture. It's like drinking's normalized. But then it's like with addiction in a family and problems with alcohol, you know, liver issues with family members and, you know, cirrhosis and things like that. It's like, you're like, am I allowed to have a couple of drinks, you know, or is that bad? Like, or am I like going to end up like, you know, other people in my family, you know, and it kind of, sometimes it can take the fun out of things. But yeah, I just think they're like with drugs and alcohol, I think it's such a difficult thing to navigate because like, yeah, in the party scene, like there are people who can do drugs and then not become a problem for them.
Yeah.
And then there's people who can do drugs and it becomes a problem for them. There's people who can drink and, you know, so there's not really a one size fits all for these things. And that's how people end up finding out that they have addictive personalities because they're like, oh, I found out like, that no one plans to become addicted to anything.
Right.
And
yeah.
And, so yeah, it's good. Did you have to do any sort of program to get sober, or was it more of just kind of a self-induced type of thing?
It was more of a self-induced type of thing. I tried. I went to a few meetings, but it was very very religious oriented, and I'm like just not that.
Alcoholics Anonymous type of thing.
Yeah, and it was just too religious for me, which is fine. The program helps lots of people, and it helps people in my life. I mean, I know some of my clients have been in the program for 15, 20 years. So like, I know that it works for them, and I no shame there because it works for them. But I tried it didn't work for me. And what I did is I asked myself if this was what I really wanted. Who do I want in my life? What type of people do I want in my life? Do I want the people I've been hanging out with who make me feel miserable, who get my heart rate up and my anxiety going? Or do I want to be around people who genuinely care about me, who want to see me succeed and are going to push me to be better and do better? And I chose to be around the people who make me do better and call me out and hold me accountable. So I think that if you don't do a program, you need to change people you're around, and you need to completely flip your life upside down really quickly. Yeah.
You mentioned something that I found really interesting, that you felt a pressure to kind of be this like spectacular person. And it seemed like your arm kind of plays into that. It's like, well, I have to be inspirational. I have to be, you know, holier than thou kind of, because I have this situation. People have come to know me as like, you know, I'm the one-armed, you know, hairstylist.
Yeah.
And I have to be this beacon of hope for people, and I have to just exude confidence, and I have to exude expertise, and then there's some days, I mean, it's just human nature where you're not going to have that confidence, and you're going to focus more on your shortcomings than your successes. Yeah. But then you don't feel like you're allowed to, because there's certain expectations of yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something unique to people with disabilities, you know, who find success, is they feel like an external pressure from society that they always have to be on, and they always have to be this hero.
Yep.
Yet it's human nature to not always feel like that.
Right.
So when you want to talk about your weaknesses, you're like, I don't know if I should be vulnerable and say these things out loud, because I'm supposed to be this guy who never has weaknesses, or I'm supposed to have everything together, you know. And it's kind of, how do you find that balance of describing yourself as confident, because you know you've described yourself as confident, but also at the same time admit that you have these flaws, and you at one point dealt with addiction because of lack of confidence. Like, how can two things coexist? Because they definitely can.
Oh yeah. I think they should.
Yeah.
I think it should. I think it should exist. And if you don't, I feel like you're not humble. I feel like you need to be like, I don't know how to put it, because I feel like it helps me make me more human, like make me feel like I'm human. Because like before I would feel like I need to put on this confidence on this face of like, but now it's like, I feel like when I was the manager, I got thrown into it and kind of fell on my face like hard. And then I was in therapy. And what helped me was like when I was vulnerable, it brought me back down, but then it also helped me connect with people. And I think you can still be confident and then tell someone at the same time, like, hey, that's not my strong suit. Can you help me? And it wasn't until like 30, I'll say 30, that I like woke up and said, yeah, I can't do some things. And I'd rather have help. It's much easier. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I feel like when you can have two at the same time and they coexist, I think that's when you've accomplished your humbleness, and when you're willing to accept the help and love and then also give it right back. I feel like you should coexist.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think like the act of just showing up and trying is kind of what is like a real demonstration of strength. Because like, okay, I'm going to show up today. I'm going to try my best. It may not be perfect, but I'm always going to do that. And I had the discipline to show up. And in a way, that's what makes me inspirational. That's what makes me feel like a hero, is I'm always going to show up. And even when I don't want to show up.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I think to give like a false perception that, it's easy. I think some people have the tendency on social media, especially, to make things seem more easy than it is.
Yeah.
Life is never clean. Life is typically pretty sloppy and messy and difficult and challenging, and there's ups and downs. But on social media, you wouldn't know that. You would think it's more everyone's having the best time of their life. And I think, I also don't think people should feel required to like post them at their worst either. I think that can be a private moment too. Yeah. But I just think, in terms of speaking out loud and how you present yourself, I think I always respect it when people are able to say like, it wasn't easy, but I was able to accomplish this. Yeah. It wasn't easy, but these are the challenges, and this is how I overcame this. Yeah. It's like, versus some people are like, of course I did it. I'm the best. What do you mean? It was, it's like, all right.
There's a barber I know in the area. He's just like that. I'm the best. It's like, yeah. You keep doing that.
And no one believes it.
No, it's so funny. They are very nice to his face, but everyone behind him is just like, I'm very talented, very incredibly talented, for sure. One of the most incredible, but like ego up here, not attractive. But thinks they're great, so they're great. I
always say like it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a big ego, but going back to your point, it's like you got to be somewhat humble. Like you should be proud. You should be like confident in yourself enough to where you're like, I am the shit, because like you kind of deserve that. Like you should be your biggest fan, I think. Yeah,
I can agree with that to an extent.
Yeah, but it's like you shouldn't also at the same time be delusional either, and like not understand your where you can improve. Yeah, because then you're gonna flatline. You're gonna plateau. You're not gonna grow. You're gonna be like, well, I already know everything. So what? What are you going to teach me? Or what else is there to learn? And then your skills stay the same level. You don't really expand upon them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Cause I think, I'm 34, I'll be 35 this year. And it's something that as I age, I kind of realize is like, we're adults are basically the same kind of, they're like the kid version of themselves is still in them. And it's kind of up to you as an adult to be healthy mentally as an adult, to kind of find the good parts of your childlike wonder. Like creativity is one of them. How do you retain that childlike creativity and spark and joy and experiencing new things, and being kind of open-minded and not being hard-headed, and but then at the same time disregarding the negative things where you have this low self-confidence about maybe something someone said to you when you're in 5th grade or something like that. It's like, it's kind of hard to kind of decipher which is which and pick the good qualities from your childhood and the bad parts of your childhood. And I think with people living with disabilities, I think that is a bigger problem, I think, because it's like, you're physically adapting to it, like you have found ways to, do your job, but mentally, sometimes I feel like that's more of the challenge to overcome than the physical adaptation is the mental adaptation to feel like you deserve it, or, you have the capacity for something.
Yeah. And
I want to know, kind of based off your childhood and how maybe your thoughts of your younger self, or maybe even the version of yourself when you were, drinking and using drugs, like how do you essentially give yourself a clean slate as an adult to kind of forgive yourself and give yourself permission to be the best version of yourself, or at least attempt to, like,
therapy.
That's a real answer.
I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
I hate my body. I have body dysmorphia. I think I'm not attractive. I don't think I deserve some of the things that I'm getting. All of those things are valid. Those are real feelings that I feel right now and in this moment. But I also have a loving husband and someone who takes care of me and someone who thinks I am all of those things. So it's like, but therapy is helping.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's ever going to go away.
Yeah.
It's just something that I have to acknowledge and accept and say, you can feel this. It may be true, maybe not, but others around you don't believe it. So what you going to do? You're going to believe yourself, or you're going to believe the people around you who love and support you?
Yeah. No, yeah.
I don't think it goes away. I don't think anyone.
You don't think you ever get a clean slate?
No, I don't think. I think that you can acknowledge it. I think that no matter what happens to us, our brains are going to naturally, basically tear us down. It's going to naturally tell you that you're not these things, or you're not. But I think you do come to terms, or you do kind of are able to handle it differently.
Okay.
My therapist says that you can listen to it, but like what you choose next is the real important part. Is like you can acknowledge and accept it and say, yeah, I do feel like this, but it's not. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to be like, I'm okay.
Yeah. It's not what you think, it's your actions.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because it's like, I think everyone wants a clean slate. I think everyone loves the idea that they could, wake up and be brand new, or
But it gives you grit. It does
give you grit.
It gives you something that makes you different than your next person next to you. You and I. It just makes us, But that's how we connect. It's how we.
Yeah.
You find some similarities and the differences, or the negative self-talk or anything like that. And then, you may be more confident in this particular area that I wish I had. I might attach myself to you so we can kind of mellow each other out.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think it's about forgiveness, like if you can even take that as like a literal, like religious thing. Like like baptism is basically like that,
yeah.
But it's still about forgiveness, like within yourself, with religion or without religion. It's like you're going to remember your past. You're going to cringe every now and then at stuff you did and said. But are you going to forgive yourself for it and try to move on? I think that's really what it is forgiveness. And I think with disabilities, it's so out of your control. Like, like it's something you're born with. Like I have this eye condition. I was born with it. You know, it's like with your arm, you were born with it. And it's like, hey, I didn't sign up for this. You know, it's like, so give yourself a break for that, because it's like, hey, you didn't sign up for it. So it wasn't a decision you made. Like, I kind of feel bad. Like, maybe this is a bad thing to say, but when people like become disabled by something they've done, you know, like through bad choices or whatever, like they lose like a limb or something like that. Yeah. Maybe like diabetes or something like that. Or
prime example of like, I have several people around me who doctors like, hey, if you don't stop eating sugar, you're going to lose your limbs.
Yeah.
And someone I know lost fingers and toes and legs. And it's like, well, I don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something that's in me. I'm not going to feel sorry for you. I'm going to watch your actions afterwards. And if they don't change, I'm just going to let you do your thing. Like, that's on you. When I'm not over it, I still in the thick of it. But like, I don't necessarily feel bad for addicts. I feel bad that they are in the situation. I feel bad is when they choose not to help themselves change.
Yeah.
That's what I feel bad about. It's like, I wish you would just see your potential and figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think addiction is very unique, and even with food, you know, like we were talking about, you know, but it's like, I find to have less empathy for people who kind of like self-induce their disability, but for people who it's just like genetic and, you know, or just inherit something. Yeah.
I do feel bad for folks who like, you know, go to war or, you know, have an accident, and it's like, cause I just cannot imagine.
That's out of their control, you know?
Yeah. I just cannot imagine like having to lose a limb midlife and like trying to refigure it out when your brain is already kind of wired. That makes me feel bad, because I'm like, that sucks, but I don't feel the diabetes thing drives me crazy.
Well, it's like there's diabetic retinopathy, which is with the eyes too. So people go blind from diabetes too. So it's like,
you were told that you cannot have any more sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
And yet you still eat a candy bar a day.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
It's weird.
It's their life. That's what they want to do.
Yeah. But I think the point I'm trying to make is, for some reason, and I won't speak for you because I don't know how you feel about it, but even though it's something completely out of our control, or like my eye condition's completely out of control, sometimes I feel shame for it. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I have this eye condition, and somehow I attach it to me as a person. You know, of course I would have this eye condition, because that makes sense. It checks out with how my life is or my personality is. And, you know, I'm not lucky as other people, and I have it, you know, sometimes I can be a sob story, you know, I can, in my brain, you know, I can be like, you know,
but at the
I'm
same
genetically
time,
insufficient, or, you know, these types of things. And
you can also look at it as you have something magical that most people don't have.
True.
And it's going to be something that you have to get. It's going to give you more grit than the next person. It's going to make you adapt and stronger because of it. You know, people who are abled don't have to fight for things as much.
Yeah.
And so the fight sometimes isn't there when something gets hard. For you, something's already been hard.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's going to get harder. And so you kind of have to like look at life differently. And some people they don't have to.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think you're 100% right. I think, you know, it does give you grit, and you have to remind yourself that, you know, just because someone has it easier than you with vision doesn't necessarily mean that their life is better than yours either. You know, like, you know, there's tons of, you know, able-bodied people who are in worse situations, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's not like the Olympics where it's like, you know, who's going to win the gold medal on oppression or whatever. It's just like, but I just think that most people are hard on themselves, even when they had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, going back to that forgiveness point, it's like you kind of have to learn to forgive yourself on that type of thing. And it's just somehow very hard to do with.
Give yourself grace.
When you attach, when you attach it to your self-worth, I think is when it can be an anchor, you know.
I still feel all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was going to ask you, do you feel like an inspiration?
Like, it was nice to have like that video go viral. And then people say that, and like, you know, there's a lot of the comments were, oh, you're so inspirational. You're so inspirational. It's like, for a long time, like I still don't think I'm inspirational. I just live in my life. This is what this is what I do to exist. But it does feel nice. And I'll admit that it feels nice for someone to be like, hey, like, I see you. Like, it's nice. Because I don't see myself sometimes, or I don't want to see myself sometimes. So it's like, it's nice to be told, like, hey, I see you. You're kicking ass, and you're doing it. And that's like, I don't know. It is hard. I want to be inspirational. I want people to see that you can just get it. You can do it and overcome it if you really want to. Obviously, there are limitations. Mm-hmm. So it's like there are things that, you know, I always joke, I can't clap all the way. There's going to be things that just aren't for you, and that's okay. So. Yeah.
Do you feel like, were you surprised that a video went viral, or did it make sense to you?
You know, I've been trying my hardest to not, if you really look at my page, and you might feel this, my arm is not my identity.
Yeah.
Like, it's not who I am. Like, period. But there's sometimes when you need to lean into it. And when that video went viral, I leaned into it. And I was like, Because right now, I think, like, people want to be surrounded by positive, and they want to see inspirational things that, even though you may not think it's inspirational, like, to yourself, like, it is inspirational to someone else. And right now we need inspiration. We need positivity. And like there's a friend of mine, he's like, I know you don't like to post about your arm. And you can see it from my videos that it's just me doing hair because it's my life. Like, but he's like, you need to post about your arm and make it fun and like have a good time with it. And people are going to resonate with that. You know, at the end of the day, my goal is to, I've always said this. My goal is to push people to do better and be better, and because people did it for me, and it's what got me to this point. And so that's my goal. And so if I need to make fun of my arm for a second or be vulnerable for a second, I'm going to do it if it's going to help my neighbor do better and be better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about it's not your whole identity, but sometimes you do have to lean into it, especially like because at the same time it's like. It is you. Yeah. You're telling the truth.
Yeah.
But people are well-rounded. People are more multidimensional than just like their disability, you know? So, but their disability is still, it's very interesting, you know? And sometimes you just have to talk about it because, hey, that's part of who you are. And then sometimes you want to talk about, you know, your favorite TV show, you know, or whatever it is. So it's like, so it's just, you know, I think not making it your whole identity, I think is a good point to have. I think some people, and to each their own. If some people make it their whole identity. Yep. And I disagree with that. I think you should showcase other aspects of your personality. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's cool that just being yourself and just your natural life journey, like, just ended up being inspirational. Yeah. You know, without even trying.
Yeah, without even trying.
You can be inspirational without even trying.
Yeah, you can.
You know, you just have to be yourself and try like new things and be open-minded and, you know, have discipline and be brave and, you know, go into
that you don't know how to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then it may turn out to be inspirational. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. You know, and to kind of wrap this up, I wanted to kind of ask you one thing, like, does, you know, living with a limb difference, did that affect, you know, your dating life, you know, at all?
People are harsh.
Are they?
Yeah. You know, and it could be many things, right? You look at it, the first thing you're going to assume is that it's because of your arm. But basically when I was dating, I wouldn't even tell them, like, you could not see in my profile pictures that I had one arm because I was so self-conscious about it. And, you know, the fear of rejection was hardcore. So then, like, you know, all these dating apps, you're talking to someone, having a good time, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, by the way, I need to let you know that I do have one arm. Does that bother you? And then they instantly block you.
Jeez.
So, or like,
not even trying to hide it.
no. Or like, they just stop messaging you. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. But there's also like many other things. They could know something negative about you. There could be, you know, they're just not into you. Maybe they know you a little bit and they don't really like what you put out there. So, I mean, there's a little other things to it, but who actually knows? But sometimes, you know, people have been upfront with me. They're like, hey, that's not my thing. I'm like, okay.
Do you appreciate that? Like
I can
versus the ghosted?
Yeah, I can appreciate someone saying, hey, you know, not, or maybe they just say like, hey, I've never been with someone with one arm. I don't know if I could do that, or, you know, if it's something I'm comfortable with. Like, that to me is like, okay, cool, move on. But it's the not knowing, I think, is kind of what stings more, because then that's what you automatically assume. So, but again, you find your people, and I went from when I was drinking and doing drugs and stupid stuff, I was hiding it, and then I went to my profile said, hey, he's born with one arm. So be it if you don't want to talk to me. And I think when I was able to open that up and say, here I am, I got all those good people and was able to connect with someone finally.
So you think owning your disability is kind of good for, you know, it's better than trying to hide it when it comes to dating? Yeah,
absolutely. I also think like, you know, being okay if someone rejects you. It's okay. Like, you're not meant for everyone. And so I think that's part of my story, is that I want everyone to like me. And I think that has to do with my arm and wanting to please everyone. And so when I was dating, I was like, I really wanted people it helped me feel attractive, because I don't fit the stereotypical norm of what people look like. So it's like when someone did accept me or wanted to talk to me, it made me feel attractive.
How does your husband feel about your arm?
Oh, I don't care. We make jokes about it all the time.
Yeah.
Or I'll like.
I'm asking you because it's like I feel like it's good for people to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I will be like
that people don't care. You know,
yeah,
some people don't care.
Some people don't, and that's your person.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is but I had to get to so many rejections and so many feelings. I feel like it helped me ground me more. And then when someone showed me how much love I can have, like that, I found it. I knew instantly. I was like, oh yeah, this person's good. Well, I mean, I'll lay in bed and poke them with. I have nails on my little arm here, and I will they call it my talon, but I will go up behind them and just stab them in the back of the arm, and it feels like a needle prick. It's just, we have fun. So it's like, once you get that comfortability with someone, it's real. It's like, feels so good.
I think when it comes to like dating and love, I think it's all about having fun with whoever you end up being with. Like, are you having fun or are you not having fun? Because if you're not having fun, then like, what's really the point of it, you know?
Yeah.
And if you can't be your full self, then like, that's not good either. So like being able to be your full self, being able to joke about your disability and being able to have fun together is really all that you need. And there's somebody for everybody out there. You just got to weed through the bad ones. Yeah. And
I feel like there was so much time of like not accepting myself or yourself. It's like, finally you get to a point where you're like, no, I need to be me. I need to like, and then like everything just kind of clicks, you know?
For sure. I guess, you know, to really wrap things up, I was going to ask you, like, do you have any advice for someone who is kind of in that middle zone of they want to break out of their shell and they maybe want to try a career path that's scary for them, you know, what advice would you give to someone to just kind of take that leap to do something that maybe society thinks that they shouldn't do, but they feel like they can do, but they're afraid to be judged in the process, or maybe even ultimately failing publicly and realizing that has to be a scary thing. Like, what if you try and fail? Like, what's your advice for people who are just kind of stuck in that freeze kind of mode?
I think just ground yourself in fear. Be ready, and we've always been ready. If you're adapting through your entire life, you've already lived in the fear of, and then each day we live, it just gets easier and easier and easier because we're dealing with the fear more and more. And so the fear is never going to go away because there's always going to be a new aspect of it. So it's ground yourself in the fear and take it. I feel like take it in. I feel like use it to push yourself in. And if you can't, braiding, I can't freaking braid very well. It's difficult. It's hard for people with two hands to do braiding. And so it's for me, I cried the first time I actually did my first braid, because I was so emotional because I did not think I could do it. But everyone in that room, it makes me emotional every time because everyone in that room gave me love and said, no, we got you. Let's figure this out. They showed me, they're okay, we'll try this. And then they walked me through it and I was able to do it. It's but I didn't believe myself. So it's I was able to get all those people around me, support me, and then push me to get to that finish line. And so it's live in the fear, take on that, take on those friends around you who support you and push you, and that's your team to push you to the finish line. And then sometimes you get to the finish line and it's not what you wanted.
Yeah.
That's good too. And it's sometimes you fall on your face and it doesn't work out. But what was to learn and then move around that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's how else are you going to learn about yourself and grow if you're not at least trying things,
Yeah. It's someone I heard said it's just a speed bump. It's not a brick wall.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's end on that. I think that's a dope ending.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the best way to end it. Thanks so much for your time. And where can people follow you?
Anywhere. I'm on everything. Just Michael Rockafellow or M_Rockafellow.
And
I'm always here.
Link it.
Also support.
Okay.
I'm always a cheerleader for everyone. So if you need support, I'm here.
For sure. Yeah. And I'll have a link to all of Michael's social media platforms in the episode description. And you can just easily click there and give him a follow. He's got some really, really great stuff to check out. You can see him in action, doing the things he was talking about in terms of hair. And if you're in his area, maybe give him become a client, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. With that said, man, I'll let you get going. I know you got a work ahead of you today, so I don't want to hold you up, but thanks for taking some time in your morning, and thanks for coming on the See Through podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.